All right. Hello. It is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. Let me move my script over here so it don't look so weird when I'm reading at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And this is Higher Ed Live Marketing Live. I'm your host, Andrew Castle. On today's live broadcast, we're talking about influencer marketing. While using students as influencers is becoming more and more common, working with faculty as influencers can add many new chapters to the way you are telling your story on digital channels. Today, we'll find out a bit more about recruiting and working with faculty influencers. This broadcast is part of the Higher Ed Live network. Higher Ed Live is a unique platform. It offers viewers direct access to the best and brightest minds in education and allows viewers to share knowledge and participate in discussions around the latest industry trends and developments. Higher Ed Live provides live broadcasts, podcasts, and blog posts featuring exclusive content and interviews with professionals from institutions, journalists, consultants, and other thought leaders, that's you guys, for admissions, advancement, marketing, student affairs, and communications professionals. If you haven't seen it, check it out now, higheredlive.com, or take Higher Ed Live with you on the go by subscribing to the podcast, be a part of our live broadcast by sharing your knowledge, participate in today's discussion by tweeting us using Higher Ed Live. We'll try to respond as we go on, or we'll check later for questions. Today's broadcast is sponsored by State University of New York Council for University Advancement. SUNY Quad provides value-added opportunities for professional development, building your networks, sharing the SUNY story, and helping to advance philanthropy throughout the SUNY system. So thanks very much to them. Higher Ed Live is produced by M. Stoner, a digital-first agency committed to tailored solutions that drive real results. I am joined today by two amazing guests, Andy Graham and Jeff Martin. Andy is the CEO of Big C, a marketing agency based in Florida. Jeff Martin is the CEO of University Recruiters based in Maryland. Jeff, your company is University Recruiters, but it's not a higher ed focused company. I'll have you go first. Give us your elevator pitch. Tell us a little about you.
Yeah, well, first of all, appreciate you having me on. Actually, when we started, it was exclusively to recruit college kids into our clients' roles, and it just kind of grew from there. So essentially what we are, we're a nationwide staffing firm with the focus of typically, I don't want to say entry level, but 1 to 10 years out of school, where clients will come to us and, give us a blueprint of what they're looking for, and we go ahead and place it. We're also the agency, ironically enough, for some of the biggest influencers in the world. So we handle the staffing of many, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, influencers who all have companies behind them, right? As they start as influencers, it's just one. Next thing you know, they turn around, they need a whole army of people to do what they do. And we are lucky enough and fortunate enough to be the go-to for those names, which is exciting.
Andy, you work at Big C, which is has offices in the middle of the country on the East Coast. They're not quite bi-coastal. Tell us a little bit about Big C and what you love about marketing.
Yeah. So so we are Big C. We have offices in St. Petersburg, Florida, and Colorado Springs, Colorado. So we have beach and mountains. That was my goal. So bi-coastal doesn't matter to me. I have beach on one side, I have mountains on the other. We do marketing across just about every genre. We've been marketing for a long time, but my background and my first job out of college was marketing in higher ed. So I worked at a small private liberal nonprofit college down here in Florida and had fun sort of building their first digital department, hired their first webmaster, built their first email marketing campaigns. So I've always had a love for marketing education. And so we work across many industries, but we have quite a few higher ed clients. We work with law schools and MBA programs and some non-traditional training and online programs as well. So we have fun.
So as we dive into sort of talking about influencer marketing, Andy, what is influencer marketing? Is it still a thing? Is it just a fad? Is it going to go on, or is it just sort of absorbed into marketing in general now?
I don't think it's absorbed into marketing in general right now. Marketing in general, in my mind, is something we can do on our own. So it's the content we can produce or our clients can produce on their own behalf. Influencer marketing is enlisting other people to share the message for you. So influencer marketing is getting, especially what we're talking about today with faculty influencers, most universities are used to using student influencers in some capacity. So whether it's through hashtag campaigns or user-generated content, those are all influencers posting content content on your behalf. Enlisting faculty influencers is a little more tricky. A little harder to enlist, but can be just as effective in marketing. So I don't think influencer marketing is going anywhere. I think, in fact, that it's becoming, it's just now, higher ed often tends to be a little behind the curve in marketing trends, and in many trends, I would suggest. But I think higher ed's just starting to sort of learn how to harness the power of influencer marketing, especially outside the traditional student-only population.
Have you found that as well, Jeff, that as you work with influencers, more and more of the people that you work with want to talk to them and want them to be involved in the work that they do?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's, my light just went out. I'm actually starting to get into where, I'm testing influencers in the recruiting space to sort of, partner with brands to say, hey, this is a great place to work. And it seems, it seems to be working so far, right? We're testing it in New York just to see, you very rarely, see a more of what we do is on Instagram, but somebody, not promoting a product, but a company to go work for. And it has to line up with the brands, right? If you're a big real estate person, then you're probably not the right person to talk to selling copiers. So they're picky about protecting their brand. And many of them don't need the money anymore. It's all about, just aligning themselves with brands. But yeah, it's interesting. And it's moving fast, where big companies are now going out paying top dollar to an influencer saying, hey, just tell everyone we're the best place in the world to work. And it works.
So Andy mentioned working with students and that sort of the thing that has started out, but working with faculty, how do you as a recruiter approach someone that you've targeted as like, this is a good person to talk to? If I was working in higher ed, how do I approach someone if I've never done that before as a recruiter? How do you recruit someone?
That's a good question. So it really all depends on the tool that you use. And most recruiters in this world are going to use LinkedIn. There's some other tools and data scrapers that work, but essentially, whether you have a LinkedIn seat or not, I would reach out to you. I would leave you a message, and typically the more generic, the better. And I reach out and say, hey, listen, I love your profile. I think I have a great opportunity for you. Let me know if you're interested in hearing or knowing more about other opportunities that are out there that align with your profile. If not, no hard feelings, right? And I don't shove anything down their throat. I almost dangle the carrot to where they're like, what has he got? Because I know if I get him on the phone, I got a better shot versus just doing emails back and forth, right? So where some recruiters mess up is they give the whole job description and let you sort of determine via LinkedIn InMail, should we talk, where I just say, and if someone asks me for the job description, I say, if you have 5 minutes, I'll give it to you. I got to get you on the phone.
What would you say is the job description for a faculty influencer? They're so busy. Maybe they're not on LinkedIn. How do you find the faculty that might not be connected?
So the people that we have worked with successfully are people who are naturally disposed to having more public profiles. So there are faculty who are some of the shining stars in their programs. And we have one woman who she is adamantly against using Facebook or Instagram or anything else. She doesn't want anything known about her, right? She is just loved by every student on the campus, but she doesn't want to be a public face for the program. So we have to find people who are naturally predisposed to being public. And it's a lot of times, I want to say this judiciously, a lot of times it's younger professors earlier in their career who are trying to establish that personal brand. And our job is then to make them understand how them growing a personal brand can also benefit the university as a whole or the program as a whole. And so we have to walk that fine line between you're doing this for your career, but you are also doing this for the university. So some universities have really strict guidelines about what they can publish and what they can't, and their persona online and what they're allowed to publish. The universities that we've worked with don't really have very strict guidelines around it, just because I think it's kind of a Wild West territory so far. And so it's some of this stuff we have found accidentally. We didn't know these, perhaps a personal blog existed or things like that. But if you can find somebody that's got a predisposition to wanting to publish frequently and wanting to share, slice of life and become an influencer, and you can guide that person into making it easier for them, helping them with content creation, supporting them with graphics, supporting them even in any capacity, you can really amplify that voice across the university channels and across their own channels. I think a lot of times they're doing the best they can they're not professional marketers. They don't know how best to use a lot of these tools. And so they're just doing the best they can. So I think there's value that we can provide and that the universities can provide back to the faculty to help them grow their brands while they support the universities and programs as well.
And I'm going to ask this to Jeff first, and I'll come right back to you, Andy. Jeff, what do you offer influencers? Is it money? Is it a contract? Is it a T-shirt? What do you offer them to get them to do the influencing for you?
It's passed through my company. Money, green dollar bills. To be honest with you. Now I will tell you this: lately. In return for my service to grow their company, right? I'm asking, it's interesting, I'm sort of flipping it to where I'm bartering with them. Hey, I'll grow your company if you get online and talk about why we're the greatest firm, best recruiting company to work with. So sometimes I offer them free staffing, services, which they need in return for them to, use their voice to promote me.
So it sounds like you recruit an influencer and then you turn the people that you're recruiting for into an influencer for you.
Yeah. Isn't that great? They all need help. It's funny. I did a video the other day. You might have saw. I said, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who you are. I don't care how, widespread your net is. Everybody that runs a business needs recruiting help. And most people don't understand it, right? Unless they really dive in. So it's interesting because you sit down with these people for hours, and where you just want to sort of pick their brain and talk, about what they've done. It's nonstop them asking you questions about how to recruit, how do I grow, where do I find the people, and that's where you say, well, you know what? How about we do a little? I'll help you, you help me, and we'll go from there. And it's worked. I'm in front of some of the biggest brands and names. Because no one really reaches out to them to say, hey, you're growing. I know where your troubles are in hiring, right? There's more jobs than people for the first time ever in the world.
Andy, what can we offer? It's a really exciting time. What can we offer faculty members, Andy? Is it just money? Is it like, hey, you're not making enough as your adjunct faculty member? You're a new person, here's some extra cash?
We don't offer money at all. In fact, we just offer assistance. So we talk a lot about how you can grow your career and how you can attract better students to your programs and how you can attract the students who really want to learn about the topics that you know most about. Students come in and don't always know what their faculty members in their program. They may have come because of one or two faculty members, but they don't really know what the specialties are, what the research that's going on. And so if you can align students to the program before they even get there, you've got a really strong student population, right, who are really invested in the research that's already happening. So we talk a lot about just the benefits for the student population, the benefits for the career of the faculty member, that sort of thing. Now, there's risk in that, right? So you build a great fan base for a faculty influencer, and they take that influence with them to another position. That's happened to us recently. That's a tough one.
We talked a little bit about this before the broadcast started. As you were talking with you and brainstorming, thinking about today's broadcast, you found a faculty influencer that was sharing a bunch of information, blog posts and social media posts, but it wasn't aligned with any strategy or communication strategy with the institution.
Yes, she and a couple other faculty members from other programs have started a blog specifically about the research that they do. And it's infinitely interesting. It's got an amazing following. They have Instagram, they've got Facebook, they've got LinkedIn, and the university didn't really know much about it. And so when we approached her, the question is, how can we get you to publish some of this stuff on our blog first and foremost? And then, you can syndicate it out to your own blog, or maybe you publish it there first and we can syndicate it on our blog. Whatever that is, in some way that we can help promote this, it benefits both of us to do so. But we wanted to make her understand, and I don't know that we've crossed this chasm yet, that the work she's already doing can greatly benefit the program as a whole. Not that I don't think she's doing that, I certainly do.
Jeff, how do you post-recruit someone? If someone's already doing a great job, like this faculty member was, they sort of got their career up and running, how do you be like, hey, come work for us too? Is that possible to do that?
Yeah, it makes it harder, right? Everyone is, depending on what role I'm recruiting for, there's always, it's not all about money, but it's about opportunity, growth, and money. Yes. So a lot of times, it could be for the same amount of money, for a job that I'm filling, but there's much more opportunity, more upside, more sharing in whether it's, stock or cash or bonus. But a lot of them just want opportunity. So, hey, your pay may stay the same, but I'm going to take you from where you're managing 3 people and now you're in charge of 30. And you find that depending on what their hot buttons are, the ability to grow is what everyone's looking for, right? It's not necessarily, hey, I'm going to pay you 10 grand more. Give me the opportunity where I can come in and help other people and spread my wings. And most people, that would be the first thing I go after, right? Because it's not all about the cash. Now, that doesn't hurt. If I can give you both, then it's probably I'm going to get you to pay attention. But a lot of companies are overpaying right now. I essentially call it, they put the golden handcuffs on because it's so hard to find another you that I'm just going to overpay you and give you perks. So when Jeff Martin calls, you don't even listen.
That was the question I was going to ask. Like, when are there people out there that is going to be great? You work hard to recruit them, but they just keep saying no, or they're resistant. What are the 3 tips that you would give to people who want to recruit an influencer, especially a faculty member who's so busy out there? What are the 3 tips that someone who's new to recruiting that you would tell them to do?
It's interesting. One is my conversations are never salesy, which is crazy because I'm a salesperson. But I leave it, I'm very straightforward on the phone. And when I talk to someone that I'm not going to waste their time. So I build essentially a relationship. And the first thing, that I tell people, stop shoving everything down someone's throat. Just have a conversation. If it's not the right time, I say, hey, listen, if this doesn't make sense for you now, I'm here. I get it. We'll talk soon. We'll part ways. We'll part as friends. And crazy enough, if you slam that door shut, they're not going to come back to you when they need or when they think it's like, oh, shoot, maybe I should entertain this. They're going to call someone else. Leave it open. Don't be that salesy, hate to say used car salesy type, stigma. And that's one, right? Don't, let them be in control. If it's not the right time, then it's not the right time. We'll part ways and I'm here, if you need me. And then the other thing I do is I try to give them value over those breaks. So if I call you in September, I'm constantly staying in front of you, whether it's articles, whether it's, things about my opportunity without selling. I'm just emailing, hey, hope you're well, hope the family's good. If you ever want to catch up, here's my info. So I'm in front of them. So I'm first on their mind when they go to bed and they have a bad day at work and they're like, you know what, I'm calling that guy. Because and if you do it the wrong way, if you're constantly calling them and saying, is it time, I let them figure out when it's time. And then I would think the third thing that you have to do is you have to be respectful of their time. And a lot of recruiters aren't, unfortunately, right? Hey, when can you talk? When can we get on the phone versus me just pounding down your throat? LinkedIn is getting very noisy, and we're winning the battle because we're letting candidates or influencers, hey, listen, I know you're busy. Tell me when you could talk. I had a meeting at 6:30 today. And I just got an email literally while we're here, it popped up that, hey, can we push our 2 o'clock to 6:30? Fine. I'll do whatever I have to do to talk to you. And a lot of times it's, nope, I work 9 to 5. And what they have to understand is these people work, right? So I'm going to get you before or after work. So those would be my 3 tips. There's a lot of tips that recruiters need, unfortunately. But one is stay in front of them in a friendly way. So when their brain does shift that, you know what, maybe it's time for me to look at another opportunity, you're the one they think of. Because if you do it the opposite and you're a pain in the butt to them, they're just going to call another recruiter, another firm.
Yep.
Will that work for faculty as well? And go ahead, Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that because he's talking from a recruiting perspective, but that's a lot of those things are aligned with what we do, which is number one, we try to make it as easy for folks as possible. So maybe they don't want to write or produce content. So how can we facilitate that? Is that if we do an interview and we can write articles on your behalf, we can send them to you for review. If I send a video guy to your office on Friday for 2 hours, can you sit and record 15 short little videos for us? I'll send you the questions ahead of time. Like, how can we make this as easy as possible for you to publish and you to share content on our behalf? So it's really meeting them where they're at. And then the first thing he said, which is understanding their pain points. What are they struggling with? And how can we provide value in some capacity to them that they, we're not just asking for something, we're trying to give them value as well. So making sure they understand that.
Also, if they've had a bad day at work, like Jeff said, if you've had a really bad class, you felt like I'm just not getting the quality of students that I want in this class. What can I do about this? And if they've already been contacted by their marketing and communications department to be an influencer, maybe then they can be like, oh, if I talk about what I want, maybe I can get some of those kinds of students.
Exactly. And I think that, admissions are really focused on, if we're talking about a law school, we're really focused on our LSAT scores and we're focused on GPA. And those are the two things. And so we're not really looking at alignment with faculty interest and research tracks and things like that. So I think opening up the lines of communication between faculty and admissions to talk about what does the student population, what are they interested in? Like, where do they want to take their careers and what do they want to learn about? And how can we align our content strategy around those things to include some of the faculty stuff?
One of the things that Jeff said, and I'll get back to him in just a second about this same thing, is don't be salesy. Don't be really like a used car salesman about what's going on. Do you think faculty would be a little resistant to becoming an influencer because they would feel like they're like, I can fit a lot of students in this classroom?
Well, Andrew, I'm sure you understand that they don't even like us to talk about marketing, right? Like, it's admissions, it's not marketing. We're not marketing. And so we have to talk about our student population and we have to talk about, application and yield. We can't talk about lead generation. We can't talk about conversion rate optimization, even though that's what we're doing. We're marketing. And so, I think just knowing the language sometimes helps. But, again, not being salesy. To me, marketing is all about helping people solve their own problems. And so if we have to share something with you so that you can solve a problem, then we're actually helping you. And so the tools and tactics, we do that with our marketing tools and tactics.
And Jeff, you want to do that too. You want to help companies help people. You want to help them get the right employees. You're not just doing it out there because you're making a quick buck.
100%. I mean, it's part of, there's a lot of firms that have, I call it value add, right? I sat with a client for 2 hours today. Never sold one thing, just, hey, here's where the market's going. Here's what you need to do. Here's how you get there. And, try to give them, hey, if you don't want to use a firm or you want to use me, let me give you some advice on how you can find these people and where they're at and how your internal recruiters can find them. And what happens most of the time, they wind up saying, well, can you do it? Right? Because you came in, you gave them that value. Recruiting is the lifeblood of these companies. And, everybody needs good people. Everyone always wants to clean out the bottom 10 and add new ones. And, they just don't know how to do it. So it's the same thing, right? If I can give you, if I can come to your office and do a video about how great it is to work and millions see it, right? It's a win-win. My brand is out there. Your brand is out there. And the typical recruiter doesn't do that. They sit behind a desk and they just throw resumes over the fence. So we try to separate ourselves by giving you that extra, oh, that's cool. Hey, he did a video on us. He came by and, people will see it and that'll help, brand recognition. So I agree. I love, I think back to when I was in college that none of this really exists because social wasn't there, and never really thought about the space with faculty influencers. Pretty crazy. Interesting stuff.
When do you give up on a potential recruit, Jeff? When do you be like, I've pitched it. This is something I really, really want. Like, but
very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah. I always, when I teach recruiters, right, you make zero money on the middle of the fence, right? You make no money chasing, right? And I want to get to the yes or the no as quickly as possible. So I don't waste your time or my time, really. I'm here, so it's really the candidate's time. I don't want to waste your time. Is this something you want to do? Yes or no?
Would that work in higher ed? Do you think, Andy? Do you think like if you approach a faculty member? Okay.
Yeah, for us it's a long game, right? So we have to show the value of them producing content on our behalf, and then we also have to make sure they understand how easy it is. And so that's never a one-time ask for us. It's like, hey, I saw you're doing this. It's really following what they're doing anyways and helping it align with their lives in a general sense. Nobody wants to make too big of a change or take on more work, and so how can we facilitate that? So it could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, and it helps if there's a peer or somebody else that's doing something neat that you can share. Hey, Susan wrote these great articles for us last week. We'd love if we could do something like this with your content. What can we do? Is there anything you're doing for your students that you can share that we could use? That type of thing.
That's awesome. Interesting. That's such an interesting academia really is its own little world. And so it might be a different way to work with it than a private industry. Are there other influencer things that have worked really for you, Jeff? Like for the people that, they grow and grow as influencers that might work outside of higher ed, that higher ed person might be like, I want to try that, but you don't think it'll work in higher ed.
I mean, the biggest thing, which I don't know if it would work or what the regulations or guidelines or schools would allow, but really is vlogging. And back when this started, everyone you had to hire somebody, mic you up, and now it's all about the new. I went out and got the new iPhone last week just because the cameras are that good. All I need is an iPhone now, that is huge in my world, right? I think it would be cool to see what's going on inside class and following a teacher around. I don't know if it's allowed to or if it's even, but that's something I'm seeing, right? When I go to New York and I have cameras following me around, it's cool, it's neat, people like it, it's working. Right, everyone has their daily vlog, their weekly vlog, and you sit there, and I go home and I watch 10 of them, and I'm like, I'm 3 hours in on this garbage, but everyone's doing it, right? So I don't know if that's allowed in the school, but that's something I would watch behind the scenes of a teacher and how to prep and the stuff they have to deal with would be awesome.
We have
go ahead. Yeah.
One of the deans at one of the law schools that we work with they have a prospect portal, where prospects can log in and get to know each other and talk about the incoming class and things like that. A lot of our schools do, but their dean has been recording little mini videos. Awesome. And the most recent one was, and she's new to the program, but she was doing just it's like literally she's in her running clothes on a Sunday morning and she's sweating and she's looking. And she's like, I can't wait to change your lives. I can't wait for you to join us on campus. And it was just this really neat during the summer melt period of these little videos that she continued to publish, that kept them engaged. And really, it's that a neat way for her to personalize a very impersonal medium of this portal where you log in and are supposed to have some sort of connection. And it wasn't very public, so it doesn't have the little bit of the risk of, the barrier to entry is a little bit lower for a lot of folks who are like, I don't want to put this out on YouTube or Instagram. I'm feeling a little, jittery about that. It felt more personal because it was in this private portal, but I just thought that was so neat and it really connected with people. They've had the highest yield they've had in a long time. So.
That's awesome.
So I know you guys are busy. So again, thank you for taking about half an hour out of your CEO days to talk with me. Jeff, the last thing that I'll ask you is influencer marketing is really, really important. Telling these stories about your everyday life, the vlogging that you were talking about. How does that reach you as an audience member who is looking at these things? What about influencer marketing connects with you, especially with someone who might be in a teacher position or a faculty position? What about it would reach you as an audience member, Jeff?
You know, the grind, right? It doesn't matter if you're a famous influencer, if you're a teacher, you still have the grind. You got to get up, you got to prepare. It's almost like, you know, the hottest thing out there now is watching these college sport teams prepare for Saturday. Right? The same thing. If it was a teacher, man, I want to see what they go through, right? Everyone has their struggles and their grind and how you overcome it. And, you know, if it's interesting to me, I'll watch it.
And the big thing for you, the tip sort of takeaway that I heard you talk about is don't sell, present the opportunity.
That's it. You either want it or you don't. You know, why do I want to force you in a role if you don't want it? You know, yes or no?
Andy, for you, you've worked a lot with schools, and what do you think talking with the faculty members can bring to audiences? Is it that getting a preview of the school that you're going to, meeting the people that you're going to be learning with? Why should we start pursuing this new avenue of influencers?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I even think for online programs, it's valuable to have video conversations to establish some connection. We connect with people. We don't connect with businesses. And so the sooner you can establish a relationship between your faculty and your prospective students, the stronger that relationship is going to be.
And faculty could be really resistant. Are these recruiting tips sort of that Jeff had talked about? Do you think they would also work for admissions or for marketing to recruit some of the faculty members?
I think so. And I think that, you know, it's made me realize we probably should put a bigger effort into a recruiting program that's a little bit more formalized. I think there could be an interesting aspect of that for, you know, building out a more formalized influencer program. I love that idea.
So have a strategy for recruiting, not just a strategy for how you're going to use the content in the end.
Yep.
Jeff, Andy, it's so nice to spend some time with you in person after communicating with you over the past couple of months. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Continued success in all of your efforts out there. I encourage everyone, please follow Jeff and Andy on LinkedIn and on Twitter. They're sharing all the amazing, incredible things they're doing with their teams. Thanks always to our program sponsor today with State University of New York Council for University Advancement and M. Stoner as well. Tweet, listen to the podcast. We'll follow up with any questions. Thank you guys very, very much.
Thanks,
have a great weekend.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Good to meet you.
Bye.
Take care.